Hello everyone, welcome to Spiritual Saturday Book Club. Before we begin, let me just refresh my page to see who is online and joining us today. Just a quick recap of what these sessions are. These sessions are book club held every weekend on a Saturday. And for this particular book, I'm going to be leading you all through. So the book we're going to be covering is called Gurus for Higher Enlightenment for Sale. And this is a book that was written after His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche gave a very long teaching on three specific areas. So these specific areas are actually the Guru, Dharma centers, and also personal practice. So these teachings actually cover more than 24 hours, and if you want to watch the teachings in their entirety, you can watch them online on YouTube. Out of that very, very, very long teaching, Rinpoche decided to publish a book, which is Gurus for Hire. And this book actually covers some topics that aren't usually covered within Dharma centers. And that is how one should view the Guru and the way one should think about the Guru, especially ways in which we come to the Dharma and Dharma practice with very preconceived notions of what a Guru should be for us and what a Guru should do for us, and how this actually hinders spiritual progress. So throughout the first section of the book, Rinpoche actually explained how to rid ourselves of those preconceived notions. And now the section that I'm going to be covering today moves on and actually deals with Dharma centers. Now this is a very important topic, especially for us who are practicing the Dharma, because when we come to a Dharma center, when we go to visit a Dharma center, we also have very preconceived notions of what a Dharma center should be like, what other people in the Dharma center should be like, and various do's and don'ts about what we should do, what we shouldn't do in a Dharma center. And Rinpoche goes into this and explains this in more detail in the sections that we're going to be covering today. And apart from that, Rinpoche explains how we should think about going to a Dharma center, how we should engage in conversations or relationships with our Dharma brothers and sisters within the center. So that was just a quick overview. So let's see who's on today. Sharon Ong, good morning to you. Jerry Go, thank you for joining. Sukfan, thank you for joining. Cindy Lee, Gillian Lin, Yin Ping, Alice is also online. Pastor Hani, all very regular people. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Okay, so I'm going to get straight into the book. So today, if you have the book with you, I'm going to be starting on page 106. So now we get into the section on Dharma centers. So the first section is actually entitled Milarepa. The best retreat place is near our Guru. Milarepa had a student, Rechungpa, who wanted to go to India for pilgrimage. He went to Milarepa and said, "I would like to stop my retreats and some of the things I'm doing here because I'd like to go with my monk friend to India for a pilgrimage. May I?" Milarepa replied, "You wish to stop your retreats and practices so you can go on pilgrimage? Why?" Rechungpa said, "To collect merit, to see where our Lord Buddha founder was." Milarepa said, "That's very good, but I can give you something more effective. Wherever your Guru resides, wherever your Guru lives, is the holiest pilgrimage, and that is the blessed place to practice. If you look for any place else, and at the same time you say that your Guru is Buddha, then your actions contradict what you say." That is what Milarepa teaches. The phenomena of Dharma centers. The Dharma center is there out of compassion. In traditional Buddhist countries where Buddhism has a strong hold, the practices and institutions are supported by the government, a bastion of wealthy people or business people, because the consciousness of supporting the Dharma is there. There are countries like Malaysia where the government is not Buddhist, but they allow Buddhism to grow, and that is wonderful. It is like a Buddhist country where the government supports Buddhism but does not really support other religions. We are fortunate to live in a country where the government is very kind. They give us total freedom to practice and do as we like. All we have to do is follow the law. How fortunate is that? We look at Malaysia as a beautiful country, not just as a geographical beauty. I call it beautiful because we have the freedom to do what we want. We can practice Dharma here. To me, there is no home except a place where I can practice Dharma. I have given up attachment to home and place. What is home? A place where I can lounge, kick back, do nothing, and become more selfish, more into myself and more into doing nothing? Or a place where I can actually expand? Home is a place where you can find home, yourself. However, there is no mass Buddhist consciousness in countries like Malaysia. To build a temple is very hard because you have to explain the benefits from A to Z. How do we start in countries like this where we do not have mass consciousness? How do we build a temple? How do we support monks? How do we develop Dharma activities? These countries do not have the support of the mass consciousness of the people to do these things yet. It is not something that is bad or good, it is just a statement. Hence, we need Dharma centers in countries where there is no mass consciousness of Buddhism. They are called Dharma centers because they are not full-fledged temples or monasteries. They are centers where people can gather to learn, study, practice, and meditate. Dharma centers everywhere start off under very difficult circumstances and struggle a lot because they are not dealing with a mass consciousness. In getting sponsorship together, Dharma centers struggle tremendously. They start out in tiny shop lots or tiny little rented houses where they cannot do much. The place cannot be built according to traditional specifications or in a way that is conducive for meditation or for the practitioners. Traditionally, a temple is built according to specific measurements and setup. The worst place for a Dharma center is a rented place because we cannot do what we want there. We are restricted. We have neighbors, and there are limitations to how we can fix or decorate the place. It is very uncomfortable. When the center is in a residential area, there are laws and rules to contend with. That is a lot of suffering because we put all this money and energy into a place we cannot even keep, and there is no continuity. Parking is also a very big issue. If the center is in a commercial area, parking is a nightmare, and crime sometimes makes the surroundings dangerous. But where else can it start? Dharma centers turn into temples. The Tsuchi Foundation started in a little house in the Taiwanese hills. I heard Reverend Cheng Yen and a few disciples meditated on Manjushri, did their practices and prayers, and it has grown to what it is now. I am sure Kek Lok Si did not start out huge in Penang, Malaysia. I am sure it was just a few monks who started out with something small. Look at how big the Bright Hill Temple in Singapore is now. It is huge, but it just started out with Venerable Xuan Dao giving teachings and meeting people in a little house. Dharma centers are mushrooming all over the world by the hundreds. Some gurus have hundreds of Dharma centers. Do you think the guru ran around opening them? It was possible because their students were very hardworking and very organized. I do not think one guru can run 500 Dharma centers. The Dharma center phenomena is going to continue because Dharma is growing and increasing. It benefits society, any group, any country. It makes people harmonious. The first thing Dharma does is to bring people together. You will see that effect on you and your families all the more deeply when you enter the Dharma. The effects are immediate. Dharma creates cohesion, and therefore Dharma centers will grow and become bigger and bigger until a mass consciousness grows in the future. Then there will be bigger support when the centers turn into bigger places. It is not to make other citizens Buddhists, but to make the Buddhists of the country better citizens. Dharma centers are going to grow and get bigger and bigger. They serve as places of worship and as places to get education, because for now we do not have Dharma schools, colleges, or institutions here. If we do, they are very far and few between. There are also places for people to meditate, to find themselves. They are places for people to do rituals to avert problems and difficulties. They are places where people who have commitments can gather and do their commitments and prayers. The center is a place where people can find a spiritual home. They go there to listen to the truth, listen to something good, and practice. That is the purpose of Dharma centers everywhere. In this section, Rinpoche actually covers quite a bit. Everything that I've just read out has actually happened to Rinpoche. When Rinpoche came to Malaysia and wanted to start up a Dharma center, that's how he started. He started in a rented house. That grew into a rented property in a commercial area, and that's how Kechara House began. And from Kechara House, as things progressed, then we grew into Kechara Forest Retreat. So I think everybody probably online has already been to Kechara Forest Retreat. So you see what Rinpoche and the senior students managed to establish and build through a lot of difficulty. And we have Kechara as it stands now. So the whole purpose of the Dharma Center is for people to come, for their suffering to be alleviated, for them to study, to practice, to meditate. And that is the whole purpose behind Kechara Forest Retreat. Okay? Again, if you have any questions, not just about Dharma Centers, but in general, you can ask them on the comment section, and I will answer them for you today. The Dharma Center building. If possible, the Dharma Center should be in a place that does not disturb the neighbors and residents. Sometimes after you move in, pay your rental, do the renovations, and spend all the money that has been hard-earned by fundraising. The neighbors complain and they report you. That happened to a center of mine in the past, where the neighbors complained tremendously. It made it very uncomfortable to congregate there. It is also very important that the center should be in a place that has ample parking or easy public parking. Make the center accessible by making sure that directions are given clearly. Pass out flyers, advertise, put a map up on your website. Then we should be very, very conscientious of people who come to the center, because they may not have gone for meditation sessions before, and it may be very painful for them to sit on the floor for hours and hours. Whether they want to sit on the floor or not is up to them, but we should also provide chairs and comfortable seats for them. Within the center, we need to have good representations of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which is what we are sharing with other people. We should have a very good image of the Buddha. If we want to encourage other people to have beautiful images of the Buddha, we should have something to show. A center's Buddha image and stupa should be as big as possible for many, many reasons. If we want to have big aspirations, we need to make merit, having or creating large statues helps us to create that merit. Some people only come to the center once. Some people come again and again. It is the only place where they can seek refuge and help. If your image is very big, it has beautiful mantras inside and a lot of holy images inside, it will accelerate the Dharma growth of these people who come to the center. They collect more merit by prostrating, praying, and making offerings to something so vast and holy. A Dharma center and the offerings and prayers we make within is not just for one person. It is for the whole community and surrounding areas. Even in our homes, we should make our Buddha images as big as possible. We should ask ourselves how much Dharma we do. If our images are large and filled with many more holy items or statues inside, then when we make offerings, we would, for example, be making offerings to 1,000 Tsongkhapas, or however many images of Tsongkhapa there are inside, instead of just to one Tsongkhapa. The bigger the statue, the better and more virtuous it is. That is not something of the Tibetan tradition. That is in all Buddhist traditions. Anywhere in the world, all Buddhist traditions make huge statues for their temples or build statues into mountains. The money or sponsorship for these statues should be offered happily because it is towards something for people to worship and pray to. It is something that represents the three jewels manifesting to us in the form because we cannot see them directly. This is actually something that Rinpoche taught at the beginning of last year, why we have very big statues and why we always have statues filled with many mantras, with many additional images of Buddhas and everything. And this can actually be found on tsemrinpoche.com, which is Tsem Rinpoche's blog. What I will do is I will post the link to that specific article here once we've finished. So if you do want to read more about that, you can just come back here to the comments and click on the link and you'll be able to read more about that. The Buddha images in the center should be iconographically correct because people are going to use those images as visualization for their meditation and prayers. Having correct images will require less explanation. The offerings in front of the Buddha images should be as beautiful, rich, and as abundant as possible. When we make beautiful, grand, large offerings of silver, gold, and precious items, and the offerings are clean and well made, it represents our spiritual practice. We should know the right technique of offering, how to set up, clear, and purify the offerings. People will come to our Dharma center and see that. Dharma is not based on that, but it starts somewhere. The philosophy and rituals go hand in hand. According to His Holiness the 13th Dalai Lama, abandoning or neglecting spiritual offerings indicates that one does not have strong spiritual conviction. The center could have an option for people to come and create merit by making offerings. They could offer a stone or a pearl to the images and the center. By that, they are not just making offerings to one image, but to all the images and representations of the three jewels that have been put inside and consecrated within the large statues. By that, we can help them to accelerate their Dharma practice and the collection of merit. A center should be a place that is a haven for others, where we can also give things to others, where, when people come to visit, they can get beautiful books, tsatsas, statues, malas, and items for their practice. When you go to a traditional temple, you usually give. nobody thinks that they will get something back when they go to a temple or a church. They think they should give. Our center, Kechara, is different. We give things out to people, and I want to continue that tradition, to show the practice of the 6 paramitas with people, and to never be tired of giving. Give from compassion. The center should be a place of creating merit. It should be a in the middle of a desert. So when people come, we give to them instead of expecting them to give to us. That is why I tell people to sponsor books, tatas, and statues to be given away to others. The Dharma Center should be in a place that is clean and well maintained. We should not wait for another committee member to clean up. We should make sure the walls and floors are clean. Cleanliness is part of the practice before we engage in meditation, and cleaning Dharma centers is a way of purifying our karma. There was a monk during Buddha's time that was very slow. He would memorize one thing and then forget. I think many of you know this story. When he went back to memorizing the first thing, he would forget the second thing he had memorized. He really worked very hard, but it was very sad that he was so slow at his studies. He went to the Buddha crying and explained his situation. The Buddha Shakyamuni, in his omniscience, told him to clean the temple, the courtyard, and the shoes of the monks and Sangha. The Buddha told him to visualize this as his mind when he was cleaning, visualizing the dirt as his delusions and illusions. He also gave him some recitations to do alongside the cleaning. The monk had a lot of faith in his guru, Shakyamuni, and followed the instructions. And he did it not as a job, not as a put down. He cleaned the temple very well. All the monks were scholars and masters. They were teaching and traveling around the villages, and people would throw flowers on them because they were so in awe of their knowledge. This monk did not have that, but he did not care because the Guru had given him instructions and he followed them carefully. He cleaned, he wiped, and he recited the mantra as Buddha had taught him. He purified a lot of negative karma by the power of cleaning the temple, and in that very life he attained arhatship, which meant he did not have to return to samsara. Cleaning Dharma centers or temples is a practice that came from the Buddha. You sweat, it is hard, and it is difficult, but it is to provide a place for people to meditate and pray. There is a purpose in your blood, sweat, and tears. Be organized with the center. It should look very nice. Be very particular, and make sure everything is set up well. Everything in your Dharma center is an example to new people, so everything should be kept well and nice. Even holy images and holy items you have in the center should be objects that accelerate people's spiritual practice by giving them the chance to collect merit and to give them an example of how they can do things at home. We do all this with a twofold motivation of compassion for others and for collecting merit for all people, past, present, and future, who are helping the center and who need help from the center. The Dharma Center is there out of compassion. We volunteer, we work, and we give our time for the Dharma out of compassion. Therefore, it becomes Dharma practice. And here Rinpoche actually brings up a very good point, that when we're practicing the Dharma, we may not be Dharma staff, we may not be full-time members of Kechara, but we might be volunteers. We might come to some of our activities every now and then. So if you do, and you have been around for a while, if you do want to increase your practice, one way of doing it is actually to volunteer, to help out, whether it is cleaning, whether it is helping out during our events. there are many, many different ways that you can actually show your compassion and actually get more involved within the Dharma Center and Dharma work. Excuse me, I just need to take a drink. So there are actually many ways that we can be part of a Dharma Center, even if we are not full-time or even part-time staff. So there are many, many different ways that we can actually get involved. Okay, I've seen some more people come online. Martin is online, Grace Tan, Keng Hoi, Iman, Sharon, okay. Pastor Antoinette, Phoebe Yong. Thank you very much for joining this morning's session. And Iman is also online. Nice to see everyone here. Anybody have any questions? This week there doesn't seem to be any questions so far. So remember, you can ask a question that isn't even related to the reading if you want to, or if you have a particular question that needs that you'd like the answer to. I'm more than happy to answer that during today's session. So I'm going to continue with the book. The next section is on retreat centers. A Dharma center is a place which is very accessible and easy to get to in busy life. A Dharma center is a gateway in the city for people to enter the Dharma. So this can be equated to our Kechara house, which is in the city. A retreat place provides a place for deeper practice. It is a place we go to for a longer period, to retreat from the hassles of city life, to go for a retreat or to fulfill our commitments. And this obviously is equated to Kechara Forest Retreat. The retreat center should also be accessible though, because we would not want to have to drive to a retreat center so far away that by the time we finish traveling, we need to go to another retreat center to recover. Preferably, the retreat center needs to be in a place that is spacious for us to build what we want. It should be a little quiet. It should be pleasant, green, and have some nature, since all we see in the city are walls. There needs to be a big prayer hall in the retreat center too, so we can make all the noise we want and not worry about the neighbors. We can have Dharma parties up here. We do not necessarily go to our retreat center to do meditation or enter retreat. It should also be a place where we can just go to spend a weekend, walk in the forest and relax. We can join prayer sessions or stay there long term to do retreats. And this is exactly what Tsem Rinpoche has made Kechara Forest Retreat. It covers all of these aspects of what a retreat center should be. And actually, this description that Rinpoche has given of what a retreat center should be like is not from Rinpoche, actually. If you actually read Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim, there is a section during the chapters that deal with meditation, specifically single-pointed concentration meditation, in which Lama Tsongkhapa enumerates certain qualities that are needed to engage in meditation and retreat properly. And these include everything that Rinpoche has mentioned and more. And I remember when we were building KFR, there was a period of time when I was thinking, well, why does Rinpoche want a retreat center at all? And why is he making sure that he was involved in almost every single aspect of the building of KFR? And then I realized that everything that Rinpoche was doing, everything that Rinpoche was saying is actually from his knowledge of scripture. And those of you who have maybe been around for a while or have heard stories from the senior students, Rinpoche was involved in every aspect of KFR, from the building to the maintenance to what programs we are doing. even when we cleared Kechara to build, we had to get rid of a lot of trees and a lot of plants. And as it was, Kechara is literally in the middle of the jungle. So there was a lot of very, very old trees and plants. And Rinpoche he didn't like the fact that we had to get rid of so much to build. But on the other hand, that he knew that it was important to build Kechara. So when we were building, Rinpoche actually had a lot of prayers done for the land deities, to ask their permission to use the land, and to bless the animals and the insects that would have been displaced because of the building of Kechara. So once the majority of buildings were up, Rinpoche also made sure that there was a lot of replanting done. So a lot of the plants and the trees that you see around Kechara, especially in like the main areas, were all chosen specifically by Rinpoche. And there were many, many times when Rinpoche would take a group of students here in Kechara to go to the plant nursery and buy various plants that could be used to make Kechara green again, because a lot of land was cleared of the natural elements during building. So a lot of what people see in Kechara, even down to which plant you see, which tree you see, and where you see it, is actually all down to Rinpoche, to Tsem Rinpoche. So he put his heart and soul into making sure that Kechara is what it is today, and made it a retreat center. I think out of all of the time that I spent with Rinpoche, there are many, many instances that kind of inspire me, but seeing how enthusiastic Rinpoche was about what Kechara can be, not for him, but for other people, was very inspiring. I think I just brought that up because we were talking about retreat centers. Okay, I see we have some comments. So Sharon says, I love Chuda Pantaka's story. It proves how following our Guru's advice will only bring good results. Very true, Sharon. Pastor Hani, this is to inform that Kechara House at Sunway Mass will be open to resume its weekly pujas at 8 p.m. and its monthly Lamrim recitation from this Monday, 3rd of August. It's very, very good news. Thank you very much for sharing that, Pastor Hani. So if you are in KL and you have been missing our pujas and Lamrim recitations at Kechara House, please know that it will be open from this Monday, the 3rd of August. Good morning to you, Hannah. Thank you very much for joining. Dr. Hang is also online. Melissa, good morning, Pastor Niral. Dharma parties, did I hear that right? Yes, you did. We do have Dharma parties. And but our Dharma parties are a bit different because it's a party with the Dharma. So we always do Dharma and party at the same time. So, yeah. Okay. No more comments and questions that I can see. I hope my connection is okay. So I'm going to continue. The next section is entitled The difference between a center related to a mother monastery and one that is not. Follow your center, be loyal to your lineage, your guru, your practice, and you will be loyal to yourself. Centers that operate on their own have their own benefits and disadvantages, as do centers that operate on the basis of belonging to a larger institution. Centers that operate on their own have the freedom to do and practice as they like, such as to take teachings from here and there as they like. It could be right, it could be wrong, it could be great. They are not stifled by older, bigger tradition that they might find outdated. However, in general, centers that are founded with the inspiration of a guru or a Dharma teacher will usually follow the traditions and practices of that Dharma teacher and the monastery or institution that he comes from. For centers that are under the flagship, direction, inspiration and blessings of the big institutions, such as ours, being related to Ganden Monastery, there are rules and regulations we must follow or apply that may not always be applicable for lay people, because the rules are more suited to the monks and the Sangha. The rules may be a little difficult and stricter. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming and daunting. The rich tradition of such a large institution may have benefited many in the past, but may not be applicable now. Having said that, the benefit of following the traditions and teachings of those traditions is that we will have the full confidence that we are on the right path and right direction. We have no fear about the practices because we have plenty of proof from the mother monastery and the practitioners there that the practices bring results. Even if it takes us longer when we do certain practices, or if they are initially no results, we will not have any fear, because we are basing our practices on something that has been proven correct through time again and again. If we follow a traditional monastery or are under the flagship of one, it is very beneficial. It also has its disadvantages, but I feel that its benefits are more. If we follow a center that is not under the flagship of any traditional monastery, there are benefits and disadvantages also. The bottom line is there is no better or worse. Follow your center, be loyal to your lineage, your guru, your practice, and you will be loyal to yourself. There is not much difference. The challenges. Have compassion for your Dharma teacher. Think of what your Dharma teacher goes through. Before, in Buddhist countries, teachings were not really available for lay people. During British colonial rule in Burma, there was a very big vacuum of Buddhist monks and teachers because the missionaries were very fervent in stamping down on Buddhism, and it was against the law to practice at that time. A lot of lay people who wanted to learn the Dharma manifested then, but they could not find any qualified or available monks. A phenomena of lay teachers appeared in Burma who gave teachings to the crowd, but they were not treated as gurus or divine masters, more as Dharma instructors. This phenomena of lay people teaching did not take off in other countries because Buddhism and the Sangha were still quite strong there. For example, it was previously very rare or unheard of in China to have lay people teaching the Dharma. In the Tibetan tradition, teachings were mostly given by ordained members of the Sangha or lay practitioners or passed down by the lineage. It was even rarer that these institutions catered to lay people because it was assumed that lay people's minds would not be focused and that they would not make the time to practice or meditate. It was very rare that lay people advanced in their spiritual practice because they were very, very caught up in their worldly affairs. A lot of the ordinary lay people were also illiterate. Basic Dharma was already hard for them to grasp, so the deeper teachings would have been even harder for them to absorb. However, when we look at other countries that are not of a mass Buddhist consciousness, the majority of the people there that receive the Dharma teachings are lay people. In those places, taking ordination is not encouraged. It is in fact looked down upon. It is something you do if you are a loser or if you cannot make it in life. In contrast, having a child in the family become a monk or a nun in the Buddhist countries like Thailand, Tibet, Cambodia or Burma is an honor. Actually, Buddha's intention of having people take ordination was for them to focus their mind solely on liberation, so that living simply and not having attachments became a tool for advancing in Dharma practice. Dharma teachers in countries where Buddhist consciousness is not prevalent have a double challenge. Firstly, the students do not have a Buddhist base or Buddhist consciousness. They do not understand anything, so you have to teach them everything from the basics all the way up. A lot of very basic problems we experience in Dharma centers, such as people breaking their vows, do not happen in monasteries. All the monks I met had no problems holding their vows. Secondly, when you teach non-Sangha members, they come with a lot of emotional baggage, more than monks and nuns. Dharma centers teach only lay people. Very rarely are there Sangha, and even if there are, they are very few, and the Sangha are very new. They are wearing robes and they are doing their best, but the Dharma has not gone in fully yet. There are incredible obstacles, problems, and difficulties in teaching lay people. Any Dharma teacher will find that a tremendous challenge and almost daunting. Some Dharma teachers go back to their monasteries because it is too much for them to handle. Teaching lay people is a very difficult phenomenon, and that is part of the reason the Dharma centers have problems raising funds and getting people to abide by rules. That is why there are so many lay people who pretend to be in the Dharma, but who still find it difficult to attend pujas and classes after 10 or 20 years of being in the Dharma center. When they go home, even when they want to meditate or practice, they have screaming kids, wives who tell them they are freaks, husbands who tell them they are cultists. Then they have to hide their practice. There are all these obstacles for lay people. It is monumental for a lay person to come to the Dharma talk because of the obstacles they create for themselves. There is not that phenomena within the Sangha community. If there is a Dharma talk, everybody flocks there because they are in the monastery for that reason. Lay people have so many distractions and emotional baggage. Sometimes they can come to a Dharma gathering, sometimes they cannot. It all depends on their schedule, their kids, attachments, entertainment, business, money. It depends on so many factors. Sometimes they just create the obstacles for themselves because they are always immersed in themselves. Some lay people take a little bit of what they want from the Dharma, but when they go back home, they have no support for them to do more Dharma than the little bit they are doing. Their family usually does not understand it, does not like it, or are against it. Once a layperson leaves the Dharma center, he goes back to whatever he was, whereas when a monk or nun goes back to his room, he goes back to himself, his altars, texts, and teachers. Monks and nuns are in the Dharma 24/7, so they always have support. If you tell traditional Sangha members to go to teachings at a certain time, they are there, even if the teaching goes on for 1 month. I have even attended teachings in the monastery that lasted for 6 months. In the monasteries, we do not miss even 1 day or 1 hour of the teachings. We do not dare sleep for even a minute because we are thirsting for the Dharma. Within the Sangha, the monks and nuns are really motivated and dedicated to receive the Dharma. All this is not because lay people are bad. It is because it is assumed that they will not practice or push themselves, and that even if they wanted to do Dharma, they have so many self-created obstacles that stop them from practicing. If we look at the historical facts of every country, teaching in a Dharma center actually seems unnatural. This is what all Dharma centers go through around the world. When His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama is giving a discourse, prior, in between, and after the Kala Chakra initiations and teachings, we see Tibetan lay people on the outskirts attending the teachings, having tea, taking a nap, talking, listening to the news, when the Kala Chakra is going on right there. It is something that happens with lay people in Dharma centers everywhere. When the teacher has to deal with lay people from a different culture, it is a whole new challenge. They do not understand a simple thing like offering kathas. They question and they want a 3-hour explanation all about kathas. So the teacher explains, to receive Dharma, we need to make merit. In order to make merit, we need to offer up something. By offering something, we create and receive merit. Then they ask, what's merit? Why create merit? I've already got merit. Then the teacher gives another 3-hour explanation on why they need to create merit so they can buy kathas so they can offer it back to the teacher. After the students offer the katha to the teacher and the teacher puts it back around their head, it starts again. Why did you put it back on my head? I already offered it to you. After the teacher explains things to them for 6 hours, they leave the room all happy and floating on a cloud with a halo. Then the next clown walks in and asks, why do I need to offer a katha? In Tibet, the sponsors take care of everything and the sponsors encourage. It is a well-known fact in the Buddhist world that to sponsor a guru, especially a teaching guru, is very meritorious because the best, most supreme Dharma action we can do is giving and receiving teachings as it brings Dharma to other people. The sponsors in traditional Buddhist societies donate because they cannot do as much or spread the Dharma as much as the Guru. So they sponsor the Guru to teach and do because they believe in him. They understand the merit of sponsoring. Sponsorship does not just mean to help with money. They help with their knowledge. They help with their time, their energy. Statue makers or tanka painters may offer their services because they do not have money. There, the gurus do not have to say anything to the sponsors. In non-Buddhist countries, the gurus have to beg, please sponsor me, please. And the guru has to do what the sponsors say. You have to make the sponsors happy, entertain them, tell them they are beautiful and handsome, although they may be grotesque, and say they are wonderful Dharma practitioners. Sometimes if you do something that the sponsors do not like, heaven forbid, they suddenly become very honest, direct, wonderful people, and they say that they are not giving you any money anymore. Sometimes they send you long, nasty faxes to tell you off, to tell you what a rotten, spoilt guru you are. If other sponsors want to sponsor you, they make sure they go away because they're afraid that you will become spoiled. I have encountered that. They will physically threaten you, tell you off, take things away, cancel your permits, run around to other Dharma centers and say very nasty things about you. If they are not happy with you, they do not want anything. If they're not happy with you, they do not want anybody else to come close to you or talk to you just to prove their point. That has not only happened to me, but to many other Dharma teachers. Everything that Rinpoche has mentioned so far that I've just read out has all happened to Rinpoche. Convincing lay people to help and do things for the Dharma is met with a lot of mistrust. The mistrust is correct. Excuse me. The mistrust is correct because the people do not have this cultural background and they do not know what it is about. For example, a lot of the Chinese here in Malaysia like to sponsor the Dharma, but it is more with an attitude that they will only come back to say thank you and make an offering if and when they win the lottery. Getting and maintaining sponsorship is one of the biggest fears and challenges of teaching. That is one of my reasons for not wanting to go out to teach, because raising funds is scary. You are basically a car salesman, convincing people how wonderful Dharma is. It is good if you convince them and they remain that way, but sometimes their mind goes up and down, and you have to keep talking and convincing. Sponsors are not bad if they lose confidence or faith or feel down and depressed. They do not have the culture, people, friends, or a whole lifetime to support them. A few sponsors who come out of the woodwork and help with no mind games are exceptional. I am not saying this is bad. I am telling you the facts. That is how it is. That is what gurus go through in non-Buddhist countries to teach the Dharma and to tell you about being compassionate. Have compassion for your Dharma teacher. Think of what your Dharma teacher goes through. Okay, I've got a question here. Excuse me, I need to take another drink. I apologize. Sharon asks, for people with secular obstacles, what is your advice to help us maintain and grow our spiritual practice? It's a very good question. In order to maintain and grow your spiritual practice, and this applies not only to lay people but also to monastic, one of the best ways of doing that is to have a daily sadhana. And it is something that many of you know we do harp on and on and on about, which is making sure that we have a daily practice of prayer, a daily practice of recitation of mantra. And in Kechara, this comes in the daily sadhana that everyone engages in, is known as the Diamond Path. And that is the joint sadhana of Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga and the practice of Dode Shugden. And there is a reason why Rinpoche kept these two practices as the standard daily sadhana. The reason is because when you focus on Lama Tsongkhapa and when you do his practice, you actually receive the blessings to be able to practice, to understand, and to put into practice Dharma. You receive the blessings from 4 Buddhas when you do Lama Tsongkhapa's practice. Manjushri, Chenrezig, Vajrapani, and Maitreya. And you also receive the blessings of the entire lineage of masters all the way back to Buddha Shakyamuni. And it's through this lineage of masters that you receive the blessing to be able to, again, understand and practice the Dharma and actually put that into practice. So to be able to understand and practice the Dharma, put it into practice, Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga is very, very important. Coupled with that, we have the practice of Dode Shugden. Now, when we're practicing the Dharma, one thing that will hinder us and actually stop us from practicing the Dharma is actually our negative karma. Because our negative karma wants to kind of keep us trapped and is kind of forcing us to create more negative karma. And that's just living a life without any practice of the Dharma, without any thought or inkling of needing to better yourself spiritually. So when you practice Dorje Shugden, he helps to hold that negative karma back, on one hand. And on the other hand, he also helps to create the positive conditions that are necessary for your continued practice of the Dharma and growth in Dharma practice. So you see here we have 2 practices, the Guru Yoga Lama Tsongkhapa and the daily practice of Dorje Shugden, that actually help us to maintain and grow our Dharma practice. Now, a lot of people actually think that that's just it. Dharma practice is just doing your sadhana. That's not Dharma practice. That is something that is Dharma practice, but is one very, very small portion of Dharma practice. That is just to help you have the energies in your life to be able to actually practice the Dharma. Dharma is all about mind transformation. It's about becoming a better person. But within our tradition, we say that the 2 are not mutually exclusive. You need both of them together. You need the blessings from the Buddhas, and you also need the knowledge of the Dharma to actually practice it and actually transform your lives for the better. So it is both of these together. Okay, The next section is actually the roles of the Guru, but it covers quite a few pages. So I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to go into that today. Any other questions? Anybody have any other questions? I can't see any questions. I'm just going to refresh my page to see if there are any more questions. No more questions at the moment. So I would just like to take a minute to thank our sponsors for today's live streaming, which is Iman. With the sponsorship, may all sentient beings and everyone who I care about find lasting happiness and awaken their innate, everlasting compassionate nature and wisdom. And GL Sim and family, may everyone benefit from this talk and progress spiritually. Thank you very much for sponsoring today's sessions. And if you would like to sponsor any of our Dharma sessions or any of our live stream sessions, please do click on the link that is in the description. We do need help and support to continue to do these live streamings, to share the Dharma with as many people as possible. And don't forget that Kechara House is open this week from Monday. And if you are enjoying the holidays in Malaysia, don't forget that you can always come to KFR over the weekend and enjoy a retreat center and see, you might not have been for a while, so it'd be good for you to come down and reconnect after MCO and see what Rinpoche has built and be reminded of what a retreat center is supposed to be, and maybe that might have some inspiration for your own Dharma practice. So thank you very, very much for joining today's session. I will end today's session there. Thank you very much.